Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let's pray and thank for the presence of Allah Almighty, for the evidence of grace and the joy of all of us can still gather in this place without any barriers at all and in a good health. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in this occasion, I would like to convey my opinion speech about why is primary and middle school years that group children based on age and instead group them by competency and intelligence. Okay, school children should be classed by intellectual ability in subject groupings rather than lumped together according to age, says Miracle Gross, the University of New South Wales professor of gifted education. In the interview below, Professor Gross says that grouping kids by chronological age is the product of an impractical view of human development. She also says that gifted children often physically develop faster and that they deserve their own specialist school just as much as highly musical or athletic kids do. After 2 decades at the University of NSW, Professor Gross retires at the end of this year. How should school children be grouped for classes? Unfortunately, schools are organized by age rather than subject areas. In secondary school, you got departments which are organized by subject or by discipline. So you have the math department or the science faculty, the English faculty or foreign language faculty. However, there is quite strong organization by chronological age. 12 years old are educated separately to 13 years old. It's not so much that slaves to tradition as that we are talking a view that all children of a certain age are going to be at the same developmental level, and that's just not a practical view to take. Some kids who are in years 4 to 5 at school are as mature as the year 6 kid. We want to be able to make her a member of a year 6 class because she wouldn't have any difficulty with that level of academic work. In sport and athletic, weight, size, and height have a direct impact on how the kid is going to perform. But in academic work, weight, size, and height don't make any difference at all. For example, if you got a kid in year 7 who is very bright at math, his size doesn't make a darn of difference. If you're dealing with the education of kids who are intellectually retarded, we don't look at their height. We look at their capacity to learn and we compare that with the capacity of learn of an average kid. Equal with gifted kid, we don't say, okay, I'd love to think about putting this kid up to the grade above, but he's still only average height for his age. We shouldn't worry about that. We got to be awfully carefully when we're looking at one sort of definition of kids and using it compared to average kids or intellectually disabled kids. That we don't make comparisons that are not necessary or valid. Are intellectually advanced kids emotionally mature enough to cope socially when there are jump up levels? Emotionally maturity in kids tend to be correlated with their intellectual ability rather than their chronological age. A kid who is 6 but is more like 8 years old in the way she thinks is probably more like a 7 or 8 years old in the way she feels. Just like with the intellectually disabled kids, A kid who is 10 but thinks like an 8 years old generally feels more like an 8 years old. With kids, the way they think, they self-talk, and they feel are very closely correlated, much more so than how it is in adulthood. Do give the kids get bullied when they land in a class of older children. Their reception by an older peer group largely depends on how the other older kids have been prepared by the school for the arrival of younger kids in their midst. What many schools do is give the younger child visiting rights in the older classroom for a few weeks. Say you've got a year 5 class and they're going to be a year 4 kid, a younger kid coming up to be in that class. What the school often say, okay, the younger child will visit the older class on Friday. Then, when the older class adjusts to that, they say, okay, what if we have Madeline with us join on Thursday and Fridays rather than just Fridays? And the older kid says, okay, why not? It's just basic physiology of getting the older class to adjust of the younger child that get rid of the danger of bullying. Do gifted children come from gifted parents? In general, yes. Sometimes children who are very slow have parents of average ability, but sometimes children who are very slow come from parents who are slow learners. Sometimes you find a gift child comes from a family of fairly average ability, but often you find a gifted child coming from a family where the parents are very bright too. There is no absolute rule. If your parents are not particularly interested in fostering a child's ability, the child might not feel permitted to show that she thinks very well. The most important thing for parents is not to be worried if their child is not showing the same developmental stage as other kids, but is going through them faster. Some parents worry a bit that if their child is talking earlier than some other children that they have might burn out in later life. That's just not true. They don't need to worry about that. Okay, I think that's all speech that I can deliver. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.